This offseason has been a whirlwind for the Green Bay Packers, and the intrigue surrounding potential trades is reaching a fever pitch. General Manager Brian Gutekunst is clearly not shy about making moves, as evidenced by the recent trades that have shaken up the roster. Fans, where are you watching from today, and what's your take on these bold decisions? Let's dive into the whirlwind of speculation, strategy, and roster dynamics that could unfold as we approach the draft. To kick things off, Gutekunst has made headlines by trading away key pieces like edge rusher Rashawn Gary to the Dallas Cowboys in exchange for a fourth-round pick in 2027. The move raised eyebrows, considering Gary's talent and potential impact on the field. In addition, the Packers shipped off wide receiver Dontavian Wicks to the Philadelphia Eagles for a pair of late-round picks in 2026 and 2027, along with defensive tackle Colby Wooden, who was dealt to the Indianapolis Colts for linebacker Zaire Franklin. These decisions are not just about shedding salary, but setting the stage for future success. As we look ahead, it's essential to analyze which players might be on the chopping block next. One name that stands out is tight end Luke Musgrave, who is entering the final year of his rookie contract. Musgrave has shown flashes of brilliance, but it's hard to ignore that he has been underutilized in Matt LaFleur's system. It's a tough fit when you consider LaFleur's insistence on tight ends being effective blockers, while Musgrave's strengths lie more in his receiving abilities. If he were to land with a team willing to maximize his talents, we could see a significant uptick in his production. However, the likelihood of trading Musgrave seems slim, with Tucker Kraft coming back from an ACL injury and the Packers lacking depth at tight end. The situation is precarious, as rookie tight ends often require time to develop. If Gutekunst decides to draft another tight end, Musgrave's departure might become a more realistic scenario. Another name on the radar is defensive tackle Carl Stackhouse. He made the roster last year as an undrafted player and had to step up due to a lack of depth, but it was a rocky road. If the Packers look to bolster their interior defensive line during the draft, Stackhouse could find himself on the outside looking in. With established players like Devontae Wyatt and Javon Hargrave firmly entrenched, plus the presence of Carl Brooks and Warren Brinson, the competition for roster spots is fierce. If Gutekunst can flip Stackhouse for a day 3 draft pick, it could be a savvy move for a team looking to rebuild and retool. Now, let's turn our attention to the cornerback position, where depth is becoming a pressing concern. Trading away a player with starting experience may sound unthinkable, but the draft could change everything. If the Packers can snag a cornerback at pick 52 and possibly another later on, the landscape shifts dramatically. In this scenario, trading away a player like Valentine, who has struggled with tackling and is in the final year of his deal, might become a more viable option. Even Kayshon Nixon could be on the table, but Valentine's youth may give him more market value. Interestingly enough, it seems the front office favors Nixon due to his tackling prowess and versatility. As we dissect these potential moves, it's critical to understand that Gutekunst's strategy is rooted in a long-term vision for the franchise. The trades we've seen thus far signal a willingness to sacrifice short-term gains for future assets, and that can be a double-edged sword. While it's essential to secure the roster for the upcoming season, the future of the franchise relies on smart decisions that will pay dividends down the line. The upcoming draft will be pivotal for the Packers, and with Gutekunst at the helm, fans can expect a flurry of activity as the team looks to reshape its identity. As we continue to monitor these developments, one thing is clear. The Packers are in a state of evolution, and how they navigate this offseason will define their trajectory for years to come. Moving on, let's take a look at what other pressing stories are shaping the Green Bay Packers as they prepare for an impactful draft season. As we dive deeper into the intricacies of the upcoming draft, one thing is clear. The Green Bay Packers are entering this crucial event with a strategic mindset, armed with 8 total picks. General Manager Brian Gutekunst has historically shown a willingness to be bold, often moving up the draft board to secure key players. However, this year's draft poses unique challenges, primarily because the Packers find themselves without a first-round pick for the first time in 40 years. Yet, that doesn't mean they will sit idly by on draft day. Far from it. Gutekunst has a track record of making aggressive moves during the draft. He has traded up multiple times, from selecting Jaire Alexander to Darnell Savage, and even Jordan Love, showcasing his belief in the value of jumping ahead to grab a player he covets. While the Packers have a strong emphasis on accumulating draft capital, We cannot overlook Gutekunst's willingness to make calculated risks when the opportunity arises. Now, with the draft landscape shifting, how will he navigate the waters without the luxury of that coveted first-round slot? It is worth noting that many teams are looking to trade down this year, as reported by ESPN's Adam Schefter. This trend could play into the Packers' hands. Since the overall perception of the draft class is weaker, the cost of moving up might not be as steep. However, the prospect of trading up comes with significant implications. To make a splash in the first round, the Packers would likely need to relinquish their second, third, and fourth-round picks to gain enough value to trade into that prime territory. This is a hefty price, and while it could yield immediate returns, it could also deplete the team's depth, especially after already trading away valuable picks for players like Micah Parsons. The Packers could look to the Tennessee Titans or Indianapolis Colts as potential trade partners. Moving from the 52nd pick to the 35th with the Titans is a possibility, and it could be done with a combination of their current picks. Alternatively, they could engage with the Colts at the 47th pick, potentially offering a fourth-rounder or even 2 fifths to facilitate that move. Despite his aggressive beginnings, Gutekunst has leaned toward a more conservative approach in recent drafts. The 2023 draft serves as a prime example, where he traded down in the second round, still managing to snag Jaden Reed while acquiring additional picks that led to the selection of both Dontavian Wicks and Carl Brooks. This shift in strategy suggests a calculated, analytical approach that prioritizes long-term success over short-term gains. The overarching theme this offseason has indeed been about acquiring more picks, with trades involving players like Rashawn Gary and Dontavian Wicks. Alongside the expected compensatory picks, the Packers are clearly focused on building a strong foundation for the future. While the allure of trading up is enticing, it may not be the most prudent path forward for Green Bay. The team has a solid approach to maximizing its draft capital, and the focus should remain on building depth and maintaining a balanced roster. As we continue to follow the Packers' journey through this draft season, the excitement remains palpable. Will Gutekunst take the plunge and make a bold move, or will he stick to his guns and continue to build a robust roster through calculated picks? The clock is ticking, and as the draft draws closer, every decision will be critical. Let's keep the conversation going. Where are you watching from, and what's your take on Gutekunst's draft strategy? Stay tuned for our next update as we explore more about the Packers' future plans. As we delve deeper into the lead-up to the draft, all eyes are on Green Bay, where the air is thick with anticipation and speculation. With the clock ticking down to draft day, the Packers are poised to make moves that could redefine their roster. Fans, where are you watching from? I want to hear your thoughts on what the Packers should do this weekend. Brian Gutekunst has made it crystal clear in his recent pre-draft presser. The cornerback room needs reinforcements, and this draft class presents a wealth of options. It's deep, athletic, and ripe for the picking. However, let's be honest, the Packers have a history of focusing on specific traits and players rather than just going with the flow. They don't settle for the available talent. They go after their guy. Chris Johnson Jr. has been a name swirling in rumors linked to Green Bay, yet many are skeptical about whether he'll even be within reach. If Gutekunst truly wants him, it could require a bold move into the late 30s or early 40s, and that's a gamble that might be too risky. Instead, I foresee a shift in strategy. With some cornerbacks not fitting the profile Green Bay typically targets, they might pivot and secure a defensive lineman they believe in. My pick for this move, Lee Hunter from Texas Tech. He embodies the kind of player who not only fills a need, but also aligns perfectly with Gutekunst's philosophy. The unpredictability of the third round under Gutekunst has been a roller coaster ride. Some hits, like Tucker Kraft, and others that leave fans scratching their heads. This year's third round feels particularly pivotal, presenting a crossroads: wide receiver or cornerback. Ted Hurst has been a name linked to the Packers as a potential solution to offset the loss of Romeo Dew. Meanwhile, Willie 3 also checks the boxes for Green Bay at cornerback. If they address the defensive line in round 2, a double down on defense seems likely, and Lee 3 feels like a safe bet here. But this is where the draft gets intriguing, where the unexpected can become valuable. There's a lack of alignment with the known top 30 visits, opening the door for a best player available approach. Tight end is an area to monitor closely. Luke Musgrave is in a contract year, And while Tucker Kraft seems like a long-term asset, Musgrave's future is a bit murky. Players like Oscar Delp or Justin Joly could come into play, yet with the depth at tight end, Green Bay can afford to bide their time. Instead, I'm leaning toward wide receiver as the position to watch. If Dazon Stribling from Ole Miss is still on the board, it makes perfect sense. He's a physical, possession receiver, precisely what this current WR room needs following offseason changes. He might not be the flashiest option, but reliability is key, and that's something the Packers desperately need. As we analyze the draft board, the contrast between picks narrows significantly. The gap between the 100th and 175th ranked players isn't as vast as one might believe. Because of this, I wouldn't be shocked if the Packers decide to package one of these picks to move up earlier. But if they choose to stand pat, expect the unexpected. Chatter about a secret quarterback visit has been circulating, and let me tell you, this isn't mere gossip. There's substance behind it. My hunch? Taylon Green from Arkansas. Standing at 6 feet 6 inches and weighing 230 pounds, he boasts elite testing numbers, a 44-inch vertical and lightning-fast 4.36 speed. He's the type of high-upside project Green Bay has historically developed well, especially with Malik Willis off the board. This could be a savvy play for a quarterback in development. Now, let's focus on defense. New defensive coordinator Jonathan Gannon has a penchant for smaller, versatile linebackers who can maneuver across the field. Enter Harold Perkins Jr. from LSU. He's not your average linebacker. He's a chess piece capable of playing edge, off-ball, and even some slot. With immediate special teams value and long-term potential as a rotational defender, he represents the versatility the Packers desperately need. As we navigate through the later rounds, cornerback depth remains a priority. Gutekunst has reiterated this point himself. Bringing in late-round defensive backs who can contribute on special teams while growing behind veterans makes complete sense, particularly as multiple corners hit free agency in the near future. Offensive line depth is another glaring need. The injuries from last season hammered home the reality. You can never have too many options up front. Ideally, they'll find someone with versatility, preferably a player who can shift between tackle and guard. Keep an eye on Ethan Uniamwa from Ohio State. He's a behemoth at 6 feet 7 inches and 330 pounds, experienced at both tackle spots, and fits the Packers' mold for size and adaptability. If he can stay healthy, he could be a developmental gem. The overarching theme to watch as we head into the draft is intentional aggression. Although Gutekunst has stated he aims to remain patient, history shows he's not one to sit back and let the draft unfold without making calculated moves. If there's a player he believes in, he'll be ready to pounce. In a draft class where the depth blurs the lines between tiers, this mindset could very well define the Packers' approach this weekend. So, as we edge closer to draft day, remember this. Expect anything but safety. Expect calculated risks and smart moves that could reshape the future of the Green Bay Packers. Now, pack your bags and gear up for what promises to be an exciting weekend. Don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments about what moves you think the Packers should make. And if you haven't already, subscribe for all the latest on our beloved team. Let's go Packers!